Just two things. I wanted to also recognize my second boss, who was the newly appointed deputy to the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Chief of Staff, Paulette Daubs, is here. Paulette also served on the higher ed panel, and she will certainly be engaged in this process throughout. She really understands, she gets it, and we're really happy to have her on board. Also, I wanted to mention that Vault, Matthew, has donated a Kindle. So what we'll do, and we'll talk, the planning committee, is decide how we will raffle off the Kindle. We're picking a random person that registered, and you will be notified via email. Okay, good. Next, I'd like to invite Franima View up to introduce our afternoon presenter.
Thanks, everyone, and thank you, Vice Chancellor Sanchez, for your remarks. My name is Franima View. I am from Macaulay Honors College, and it's my pleasure to welcome our afternoon keynote on social media, teaching social media for career success. Kevin Grubb is a career services professional, an adjunct faculty member teaching a course on social media and professionalism, and a freelance social media consultant. He's also a moderator for LinkedIn's Career Services Professional webinars, and he's a featured writer for NACE in the Spotlight. So welcome, Kevin.
Boy, it's really hard to follow a free Kindle. I'll tell you what, tough crowd. Well, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for inviting me to speak with you today. I've sort of been looking forward to this for quite a while. Hopefully I can adjust this microphone. Good, okay. And I'm going to go through a bunch of topics here. My goal in this session is really to share with you some tools, some resources, some tips, some strategies that I've used to teach students about social media and job searching, and it may come quick. I think I'm one of the last things that happens today, so I will have a little bit of time, I think, at the end for questions, and I will share this presentation with Franima and Will, and hopefully they can disseminate this to you with some links to some of the resources I mentioned today, just so you know. It's been my view and my understanding that students are, and you probably feel this too, are very savvy on social networks already. And what we need to do is help them frame how to use this professionally. I equate this to, they know how to write. They write papers all the time. They got into school. They're writing all the time. We teach them how to write resumes and cover letters. So we're framing those skills. And we just need to now frame with them something similar on social media. It's more writing, framing it in a way that's professional. And I hesitate to ever call myself an expert on the subject because it changes in an instant. I'm sure you've seen it yourself if you're a social media user. So I call myself an enthusiast, and I hope some enthusiasm rubs off on you today as you finish up this great conference. So I wanted to start off with a little bit of some stats on social media in 2012, just getting the picture of what it looked like. There were 340 million tweets per day. This is from data from March. I would imagine during events like the presidential inauguration, this number spiked even more. For Facebook, it hit 1 billion users globally. So if people want to fish for the fish in the social media sea, this is a big place to go. This is an amazing stat to me. YouTube, 72 hours of video are uploaded every single minute, which is unbelievable. It's a lot of video footage for someone to watch. But certainly could be a powerful resource for someone to showcase themselves professionally. I think of a lot of famous musicians who got their start this way by showcasing themselves on YouTube. And arguably, one of the social networks for professionalism and professional development and recruiting, LinkedIn, there were 5 billion professionally oriented searches done on LinkedIn last year alone. So that is quite a powerful stat. And on LinkedIn, they just hit over 200 million members globally. Actually, most of their membership is outside of the United States. So we talk about that global competition, the global need for talent. This is certainly a place where it exists. And students and recent graduates are the fastest growing population on LinkedIn. So certainly this is where a lot of students are. And a lot of students will be, I forgot to mention, my Twitter handle was up there. If anyone wants to tweet, I will not be offended. Certainly, I left my phone over there in case it goes off. So @Kevin C. Grubb, if if you want to tweet or ever tweet and ask me a question, go for it. And getting back to LinkedIn, all of the Fortune 500 are represented on LinkedIn. So I often tell students, this is where you might want to fish if you're thinking about the job or internship search in some way. And then my last little stat, about 2012, there was a survey done by a leading global public relations firm, and they found out that 87% of companies reported having at least one social media presence that they use. And I'm finding, and you might be finding this too, that a lot of organizations are starting to splinter those accounts. So they may have one that is their main account, and one that is a careers-oriented account, one that is oriented on a specific segment of business or geography. You may have something similar, a Twitter account that's for all of your particular college or for all of CUNY, and then for your office or your division. So certainly companies are mimicking that as well. Okay, so we're in the business of employment. What is that looking like with social media? You may have heard some stats similar to this. These stats are from a career builder survey done in 2012 of over 2,000 hiring managers. And what they found is that 37% of them reported using social media to screen candidates, and 11% had plans to do so in the future. Now, whenever I see a stat like this, I always think to myself, this is just the ones that reported. I'm wondering who's not reporting but is still doing this. Who's got in their policy that they can't do this, but somehow that's happening, or they might not know that so-and-so is going on Facebook to check out that internship candidate. So this is just the ones who reported. But certainly it's something to consider. Now, the positive news about this, and my spin on this whole social media job search thing is positive, because I think there's a lot of scare out there, but the majority of people, the majority of employers are seeking information that confirms something they know, or learns, as we just had a great presentation on, learns if they're a cultural fit at the organization. So they're going on there to confirm, does this person sort of match what they say on their resume and their interviews? Do they sound like us? One employer actually called it social proof. So if you tell me in an interview, I'm very passionate about African elephants, if I don't see that anywhere on your Twitter or your Facebook feed, that's strange. You just told me that was your life's passion. So it's this confirmation, it's this social proof that lets me know there's been a long history of this. And only 12% of those who reported that they searched were looking for reasons not to hire someone. Now, do people sometimes find reasons? Of course. But the message for me that I get from this stuff is that they really are looking for good things, and I have a couple stories that I want to share with you about that today. And some trends, and a little bit of activities that hopefully will inspire you to take back to your campus, and feel free to change and modify these. So here's one success story. This is Kelly Forst. She was a student in one of my classes. I wish I had taken a screenshot of just her LinkedIn headline before, because it was different than this, but she was seeking a position in advertising, media, public relations, and we had an employer come to class and share with us some information about how they look at LinkedIn profiles. And they said, you know, we want someone with a little bit of personality, culture fit. But you need to have the keywords in there that match our industry. We need to know you're engaged with our subject. That's how we're going to find you. But we want to know who you are. So Kelly changed up her summary, and I want to read just some excerpts of this. My name is Kelly Forst, and if you're reading this, then you must be wondering, what makes me, well, me? I'm going to skip down. I'm a trumpet-playing, exercise-loving, adventure-seeking, creative-thinking, self-motivated individual. I started my own blog to promote my personal brand via social media. I also lead a service trip each fall for the Villanova Band. I show off Villanova to prospective students and their families, and I travel from Paris to Greece and Ireland and back, etc., etc. So, I guess what I'm saying about this, well, actually, within a week of her changing her summary to this, I should tell you, a recruiter contacted her about an internship out of the blue from LinkedIn. So she, of course, came in and ran in and was so excited to tell me that happened, which was great. So I think what's important about social media and job searching is this idea of course, pumping it up with keywords. Everything you're writing for social media is on the web. All of that is searchable by Google, by Bing, by Yahoo, by all those crawlers. So you want to get those keywords in there, but there are some industries, and you want to do your homework, and some companies where adding a little bit of personal flair is really going to help you. And if it matches the way that they speak about themselves, the better, because that's going to be something that draws them. These are professional documents, but this is also still a social network, so it's your personality. They are going here to learn a little bit about you and who you are. So I just wanted to share that as one story. You hear a lot about how people get jobs through these things, but this is one way it actually happened. So sharing a little bit of an activity and strategy. Again, you can take this back and modify this if you want, but what I have students do in the class, in the first class, is Google someone they don't know well. And I don't want it to be a celebrity, because that's too easy. And They may have a media team helping them manage their image online. But Google someone you don't know, maybe it's a friend of a friend, someone actually did me, which was very strange, and find their name, a photo, their professional title, one interest, and one social media presence, at least. They could find more if they wanted to, and then show that to me. So they go online and they're so excited and they're Googling and Facebooking and because they're thrilled to be on Facebook in class. You can't believe the looks when I say, bring your iPads, bring your Kindles, bring your phones. But you're on the honor system. So they show me this stuff and then I ask them questions like, okay, what impression are you getting of this person right now? Tell me what you think of them based on just these things that you're seeing. They give me an answer and I'll say, okay, do you think they want to be known for that? Does that sound like something they want to be known for professionally? Would they be comfortable? If this stuff came up in a result, talking about this in an interview, or does this help them get to the place they want to be if that's where they're trying to go professionally? And so in a way, we're looking at another person. We're trying to sort of think about that image, but we're going to bring that back to themselves throughout the rest of the course and throughout the rest of the time I talk with them about how are you going to start portraying that online? How are you going to create that image, that personal brand that we all talk about? That helps an employer notice you and recognize you. I love this. This is from a website called myparentsjoinedfacebook.com. I think it's sort of falling out, but it was huge in the days when Facebook finally opened itself up to everybody else, non-college students. So this is a post on someone's Facebook wall. They edited it, obviously. Happy birthday, sweetie, parentheses. Can I put that on Facebook without embarrassing you? Well, she did, so if she's embarrassed, that's already over. But I say this because the trend that I'm noticing among students is they're getting a lot of education from parents. Sometimes, in some cases, parents have asked for their passwords or require their passwords or require them to be friends. So Facebook, I think, is a place students are getting pretty savvy in terms of privacy. But I want to mention a couple trends and things that you can show them, tools that'll help them be professional or look for jobs. So branch out and be known. Has anybody heard of either of these yet at all? A couple folks, okay. So these are apps on Facebook. And what they do is they turn your Facebook network into a little bit more of a professional network. Now, other people in your network also have to join and be on these apps for it to really work for you, but it turns it into something like a LinkedIn. What it does, it takes the information from your work history and the other people's work history and creates a whole other network on Branch Out or Be Known, and it pulls that data again from Facebook, and then shows you how you're connected to particular companies and who are the people that work at those companies. So it makes it much more professionally savvy. And each of these also have job boards on them as well, I should point out. So possible resources for you to check out, it's branchout.com, beknown.com. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go to a ton of websites here, but I just want to point these things out. Have people heard of the Social Jobs Partnership? It's a big NACE initiative that I really like. Okay, great. Social Jobs Partnership. This is a page on Facebook. It's called Social Jobs Partnership. It's actually a partnership between, I do not want to mess up who this partnership is with. It's Facebook, the United States Department of Labor, NACE, the Direct Employers Association, and the National Association of State Workforce Agencies. So a lot of people interested in recruiting and hiring in the country, and Facebook. And they've come together, and their explicit goal is to facilitate employment for America's jobless through the use of social networks. And what they actually did is created an app inside this page. So you like the Social Jobs Partnership page, within that there is an app, and it has a job board right there. When they launched the app in 2012, there were 1.7 million jobs listed. Everywhere across the country, you could search it by location, you could search it by field, and this is all right within Facebook. So if people wind up wanting to kill a lot of time on Facebook, this is a great place to go, and I wouldn't even call it killing time. You're doing something very productive for yourself. So for our students, for our alumni, for our clients, for professionals, this is certainly something I'm going to keep an eye on, and I like to tell my students about as well. How many are familiar with hashtags on Twitter? Hands. Okay, great. Most of you. So let me try to explain it in as basic terms as I can. A hashtag is a way to catalog conversations on Twitter. So you type in your tweet, of course it has to be very short, and then you put this number sign, and then a series of characters that indicate a hashtag. And so it's cataloging a conversation. You may see this on TV. Actually, the inauguration is a great example. On the inauguration, on the ABC's broadcast, in the bottom right corner, they have hashtag Inaug 2013. And so everyone on Twitter who was talking about the inauguration would type their tweet, and then the number sign, Inaug 2013. And so all of those tweets could then be checked in one search for that one hashtag. I think students are really starting to catch on to this, and Twitter use is becoming much more popular. One student actually said, I don't think Facebook is for status updates. I use Twitter for that. That was an aha moment for me, for sure. But what's great about this is there are hashtags for almost every field, almost every industry that professionals are talking all the time on them, and they're scheduled. I actually have a link at the end of this presentation, and I'll make sure you get this, where you can go to one website and search all of the hashtags and tweet chats that exist around specific topics. Search it by day and time, search it by industry. I encourage students, even if you're not ready to talk in these tweet chats with these tags, just read the conversations, follow that hashtag and that discussion, and all of a sudden, there you go. You're seeing what's being talked about up to the minute in each of your fields. And maybe, when you're ready, you can start participating in it by tweeting and using that hashtag yourself. So this is a great way to start learning about subjects and topics without even having to follow the people or find the people yourself. You just find the tag on Twitter that's relevant to you, and then watch the conversation go by. There are two other resources, and these are kind of like the Facebook apps are. I'm going to try to explain these two. One is called Twillo. I love these words. It's so funny to say. Twillo.com. Twillo is essentially a Twitter directory. What happens is people go onto Twillo and they list themselves by professional interest. So they have, actually I searched a lot of the categories you're talking about today: healthcare, higher education, media, finance, accounting, insurance. And so a lot of professionals, they have over 23 million Twitter users listed, list themselves and say, this is the category I'm in, and then other people can go on this website and start following them. So I tell students, go on here, look at the categories you want to be in, and then start following the people in those categories. And eventually, maybe list yourself, and other people will start to follow you. All of a sudden, then people are going to be paying attention to what you're saying online about this topic and building up credibility in your industry. The other one is tweetmyjobs.com. This is a social recruiting platform specifically for Twitter. So what you can do on this website is type in your industry and your location. So healthcare, New York City. It will show you a Twitter feed that is explicitly dedicated to posting jobs via tweets in those industries and in that area. So you can find a Tweet My Jobs account for New York City healthcare, for New York City education, for New York City finance, for New York City accounting, for New York City IT, and all it will do is post jobs that employers are posting through the system, so you can just read those up to the minute. So what this is starting to do is take something that students know already, use already, and just start pushing the job search and the professional development information into them. Okay, I'm going to try to go to the website here of LinkedIn, because I think this is a powerful resource. This is called LinkedIn's alumni tool. So I know I'm switching around here, hang in there with me, but I want to get as many tools as I can to you so you can take these back and figure out how this might jive with your students. So if you go to linkedin.com/alumni, this page will show up. Okay, and you can change the school to be whatever you want it to be, and I can type in a name if I want to. I just picked John Jay because we're here. But what this is showing me is all of the alumni, according to LinkedIn's data of what's listed in their education section, who have attended John Jay from 1900 to 2020, and including people with no dates. And here they all are. 14,281 people were found as listing that in their section. And I can search this by, I'm actually going to go back, where they live, where they work, what field they're in. So if I chose entrepreneurship, it's now going to just show me the 804, seeing that number there, sorry, people who went to John Jay and are in the field of entrepreneurship. And that's it right there. I can see the employers, where they work or where they have worked. LinkedIn just added this, which I love, for students who are thinking about exploring a major. You can actually see what they studied too. So you can say, I want to know, for people who studied psychology or criminal justice, where are they now? If I just want to search that. So as an exploratory resource for, I'm thinking about exploring this major, but what do people with that major do? You can find it exactly for your school and search it right here on the LinkedIn alumni feature. So again, this is linkedin.com/alumni. For your employer relations folks, you're going to see a lot of where your alumni work, which is really neat too. So love that in the employer relations category. But lots of great data on linkedin.com/alumni. The other thing that I like to do with students too, you click on this advanced search area. If I wanted to say, let me say the school is CUNY, and I want to just find maybe people who started their own business and current, and I'm going to say I want it within 10 miles of New York. That's what I'm doing right now. So title founder, essentially they founded something. The school is CUNY. They were in a 10-mile radius of a New York zip code, and hit search. There they are, right there. People who started their own companies or started their own something right on LinkedIn. I have a completely free account. You can do this totally on your own. I have no special privileges. The results will be categorized for your LinkedIn network specifically. So the bigger it is, the more results you're going to get. Now, that is not an endorsement to go out and make a million connections. Stay connected to people that you know, people you trust, because they can make you the references to these people. But this search, boom, picks it up right there. So fantastic resources. Students, when they see this, I mean, jaws hit the floor. At least that's what I see. So I'm going to move on here. LinkedIn also lets you add specific sections to your profile. So I talked about keywords being very important and loading up information that's rich to what your industry is. If you've seen a LinkedIn profile yourself, it often asks you right away to update your education section and your experience section. I found that a lot of students are really nervous about updating experience because they think, I haven't had a paid job before. I don't know what that looks like, or I don't want to put my lifeguarding job down. I don't think that's really worthy. But what's great about LinkedIn now is you can add these different sections to your profile that make it look more like maybe a current college student's resume. So you can add organizations. You can add the courses that they've taken. They can add their volunteer experience. A lot of students love being involved in public service, and this is a great place to start including that. So you can actually add these sections. If you click on Edit Profile on LinkedIn, you can put those right into your profile and start pumping in the experience that you've had. What's also great about LinkedIn now with the new profile, again, when you're editing your own profile, in each of your experiences, so this is the listing of one of my listings, this little box there with the plus sign will allow you to add your own rich media to your profile. So what I could do in my profile next to this title is actually add in this presentation, this Prezi, and it would be displayed on my LinkedIn profile as a direct link, so everyone could see all the work that I've done linked up with that profile. So for your creative students who've made videos, I've seen a lot of students in media production who put together videos, they link a ton of YouTube videos into their LinkedIn profile so people can see directly and go right to those videos. This is exactly what I've produced and edited and shot. It's a fantastic way to get that stuff into their profile so people can see the power of what they do. I'm going to add one more thing, one more network, and that's blogging. This is a tough sell, I will definitely admit, but I'm going to tell you a story that absolutely blew my mind, that really turned me on to blogging and helped me see the importance of it, especially for students. So I had an employer come to my class. He was the founder of one of the fastest growing companies in Philadelphia, so very, very thankful to have him, and has a lot of Villanova alumni working for him, so that really helped us. And he shared a story. He was reading this one blog and loved it. He said it was one of the best blogs he read. He read it every single day for his own professional development. And it was engaging other thought leaders in the field. He was in search engine marketing. Loved it. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to write to this blogger and I'm just going to see if he'll come work for me. I think he had an open account management or account executive position, someone he would have hired a college grad with a couple years experience for. Wrote to the blogger, said, hey, would you ever consider coming up here? I think the blogger was from Florida. The blogger wrote back, sure. I'm applying to undergrad at a bunch of institutions next year, so I'll consider it. He was going to hire a 17-year-old high school senior for that job, based only on his blog. That was the main thing that drew him. So a blog is an unbelievable platform for you to share your experience, get people involved, and actually contribute your voice. Because here you have an open canvas, an open platform. There's no character restrictions. You can add whatever media and content you want. You can write as often as you like, and it sticks up there. So I really think blogging is something important too, and this is actually a quote. No matter what, the very first piece of social media real estate I start with is a blog, said by Chris Brogan, who is very well known in the social media world. So incredibly important and possibly a great resource for students to consider. So this is toward the end, this idea of image management. We talk a lot about privacy settings, and we talk about making sure your image is on par. There are two final tools I just want to share with you that I haven't played much with yet, so I can't say these are it, but I'm very curious about them. One is called brandyourself.com. Brand Yourself, let me get to this page too. What they are, they say they help you improve your Google results in your rankings. So you submit content to brand yourself, and they tell you how to make it rank higher. They analyze it and help you optimize it for Google results. So you can create your own brand yourself profile and have that actually help you rank higher in Google results. Then there's Repler. Very interesting names, all these things. Managing your online image is what Repler does. So it will actually analyze, if you want to, you can have it analyze your tweets, your profiles, your connections, and it will tell you how you might be perceived by others based on those things, based on the accounts you give it, okay? And it'll actually give you a score. So I'm told, I think that's sort of a new feature. So you can actually have these services help you manage your image online. So that's just sort of the new wave of things that I'm seeing. I'm about to close out, but I want to give just sort of my last 3 overall top tips. If some of these tools lost you, if I got too deep into something, I apologize. I wanted to just try to hit as much as I could for everybody where you are on the spectrum of knowing this across the room. But my 3 tips that are basic involve none of these tools for students are, number 1, go where your audience is. If that is on Twitter, if that is in a specific LinkedIn group, if that is on Pinterest, that's where you want to be, okay? If you go to a place and you're doing all this great work, but no one is there in your field, that's like maybe I'm a restaurant and hospitality manager going to an investment banking conference and trying to get something out of it, all right? So think about it like, I gotta find out where my people are, and I need to go there and start talking there. The other thing, point 2, keywords. Again, writing for the web, writing to essentially be searched. So if you're looking to have someone land on your page, or you're communicating with someone and you hope they find you positively, think about the keywords for your field. Think about creating that image, being that cultural fit that makes a lot of sense in your posts and your updates. And the last thing is, when you can, create your own content. You will be much more valuable to an employer online and in the world if you are contributing to your field rather than just responding to it. Employers really want that initiative, that self-starter, and you can start to do that online. That story about the blogger is perfect for that. The more you can contribute to your field and advance it, the more you'll have people take a second look at you. And I also want to just give a shout out to that LinkedIn group that I know was started, and it's in your brochures. I think it's a fantastic way to continue the conversation. So, and it's a good way for us to be models to students of using social networks in a positive, professional way. So that is all my comments. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. And I'll definitely take any questions if you have any. Oh, good. All right. Just a few. Yes, over there. Yes, I will give you the presentation so you have everything. And I have a little, very, very tiny, there's links to all of the stuff that I mentioned, so that way you don't have to go hunting for it, okay? Because I know I couldn't go back and forth to the internet. That would have just eaten up so much time. Yeah?
What is your policy on, do you accept all students in your programs who want to link to you on
It's a great question.
How do you decide if you should, do you accept all students from your program that want to link to you on LinkedIn, and how do you decide if you should refer them to one of your contacts that might be a personal contact?
That's a great question. So I was on a webinar that NACE put on, and they had a lawyer actually talk about social media policies and recruiting and for higher education professionals. It was great. He talked about having a policy yourself to get out in front of this, because it's coming to you if it hasn't already come to you. So in the top of my LinkedIn profile, I have this little starred thing right here. The policy, at least for our office, is we won't connect, and I personally won't connect to students that I've counseled in one-on-one appointments. I will connect to students who work in our office because I've supervised their work. I can actually recommend them. And students that have been in my class, I will connect with. But a student that I've just met with once, I don't connect with. And usually, I refer back to this policy, but hopefully this helps me. So I say, Villanova students and alumni, I invite you to join me in one of the numerous LinkedIn groups affiliated with Villanova University. Then I name our official group, and that's open to all students and alumni, and is my recommendation as the best resource for networking with the Villanova community on LinkedIn. See you there. So I'm giving them the actual best place they want to go, maybe not using just my connections and my people, because I don't know that would actually be what they want, but rather, let's go network with the rest of the community that you're already a part of. I'm in there too. The Career Center is helping manage that group, so we can all be resources to each other. So I personally don't accept invitations from every student that I've counseled. I think NACE's, I don't know if it was a position statement, but something similar to that is, really, if you're going to accept requests from one student, then you should accept requests from them all. I think in the case of a student that's worked directly for me, that's where I see a differentiator. But yeah, great question. Yeah, sure.
How do you, it seems like our office is getting these solicitations from technology companies every other day.
Yeah.
And how do you evaluate one? I was saying our office gets solicitations from a lot of technology companies, startups, career focused.
Yeah.
How are you evaluating those and some of the sites that you mentioned to us?
Sure. Some of it is, I mean, if anyone ever solicits, I'll ask for a demo myself and play with it myself when there's time. Certainly heavy recruiting season or, heavy times in traffic, there's not a lot of chance. So I'll say, I'll be happy to, talk with you. Can we schedule this for XYZ date? If we have a trial run or a demo, I'll give it to students and say, like a little focus group of students that work in our office and say, what do you guys think about this? Test it out. So that usually helps us, but we certainly don't use them all. And all these tools that I mentioned to you right now, I would be hard pressed to find a student that uses absolutely every single one of them, and I don't even know if I'm able to use every single one of them. There are things that I've tested and tried and looked at, and they seem to be pretty viable to me, and I've heard actually students of different backgrounds have different success with some of these tools. So it's time intensive since there are so many, and I think it's a matter of when we can get to them. We'll take a demo and look at it, and if we can throw a trial to students, that's usually the best. And we'll also I like to vet it with other colleagues, just creating a network of other folks who, hey, have you heard about this company? What do you think? And then they'll tell us, this worked, this didn't. So a lot of times the first question I ask is, do you have other university clients? Who are they? Can I talk with one? Yeah.
Hi, so we're creating a presentation, kind of like this for our students at Kingsborough. We're creating our presentation. We're creating a presentation. Okay, I can barely use a mic.
There we go. That's all right.
Teaching anybody about technology, but we're creating a presentation for our students at Kingsborough on
Yes.
this topic.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things, we had a lot of tools in the presentation, and you gave us some new ones. But how do you keep up with like the new tool? And
Jeez.
where do you send students? Because I feel like
Yes.
we're going to give you this presentation, and then 2 weeks from now,
It's gonna
this
go-
is not. Yes.
It's a great question, and that's why I said at the beginning I'm hard pressed to ever call myself an expert, because I feel like as soon as I do, 20 changes happen, and then I'm catching up to that. So I think well, for me, there's a really great group on LinkedIn that I like to use. It's called the Career Counselor Technology Forum. That has been an invaluable resource for me, and often where I find that community of people who I help, who help me. I'm looking at this demo, this product, have you used it? And they'll let me know. So that's been a great place to talk and chat with professionals and colleagues who are also experiencing these things and showing you new things and new tips. In the case of LinkedIn, LinkedIn has a blog. That's the place I get almost every single update about what is changing in LinkedIn. So if you bring that into an RSS feed or just go check that once a month even, you'll probably see the updates and things that are coming. And then there are a couple blogs that I just read myself, not every day. One is called Mashable.com. Mashable has a lot of great resources. They have tons of articles about how to use Twitter for job searching, how to build community on Twitter, what the LinkedIn updates are, how to manage Facebook and privacy settings, and they have tons of how-to guides, start to finish on a lot of these social networks. So Mashable.com is a great resource, at least for me. It helps me stay in touch. And again, am I doing it every single day of my life? Not a chance. It would take so much time, but certainly trying to keep it fresh. And when I get a request to do a presentation, on campus, I'll just go check some of the sources and see what's going on. You're welcome. Yeah.
You ever find that working with students, that sometimes students can find utilizing this technology as a safe zone, and so that when they can step out of that and maybe deal with people just directly, that they may be sort of lacking some skills.
They're shocked.
Yeah. So how do you keep them in balance with really developing both sides of those skills?
That's a great point. The one thing that I didn't mention in here, and I should have, so good catch, is always, when I'm talking with someone about LinkedIn or about making connections with someone is, yes, you're typing this on a computer. This is, whatever, I'm just going to type this and see you later, and then I got to go on to my next thing. remember that someone else is a person receiving that message. There is a human being, and that's the person who makes the decision whether to connect with you, whether to hire you. So it's not the LinkedIn, network that's doing it. There's a person on the other end. So making a personal touch for everything, researching the companies, knowing who's a cultural fit and who's not, and reminding them that the best way to make a good impression is get face-to-face with someone. So these networks are not the end themselves. They are the means to an end. They are an amazing tool and resource that I think opened up the scope of people you can connect with. But this is not the end. You're not going to get the job just because you tweeted somebody or because you sent a message to someone on LinkedIn, but because you went in and impressed them in person too. So it's incorporating these things into workshops like job searching and networking and the finessing of a conversation and the saying thank you and writing follow-ups, and not necessarily treating this as something totally separate from everything all the time. So when there are presentations like this on campus with students, bring it back into something with a personal touch. And when you have an opportunity to talk about job searching and networking, bring this into that too, so it's a part of the puzzle and not the only piece of the puzzle itself. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I can take one more question. Yes, okay, she's the last burning question.
Just, can you hear me?
Yes,
Just out of curiosity.
sure.
Interested in knowing what the exam was like in this course. And
Go ahead.
the general class like, is it definitely popular in the class?
Yes. All right, I'm going to repeat that question and give me the thumbs up, thumbs down if I'm right or wrong. What is an exam like for this course? And what is the general makeup of the course? Okay. Is it heavily populated? Okay. Answer to question one. There is no exam. I don't even know how I come up with an exam for something like this, frankly. The final project is this. So this is my exam, quote unquote. At the end of the course, they need to create a plan to communicate professionally online. I don't ever play favorites, so I'm not ever making them join a network in the course. I'm not saying you have to get on Twitter, you have to get on LinkedIn, you have to get on Pinterest. They get to choose. But what they have to do at the end, and there's a series of questions that they have to answer in the presentation and the paper, but write me a paper and present it to the class about which 3 networks at least you're going to use, examples of what you're going to say, who you're going to connect to, how you're going to manage it, what privacy settings you will or won't use. So we really go in depth, and then I just let them kind of get creative with it. So it's interesting hearing at the end, what's come back, because a lot of times I'm pushing out the information and you can see some light bulbs go off, and but then at the end when they say the things they've learned, sometimes they find things I never would have found. So we're all learning together in the class, which is really neat. And then is it full, or is it popular? Yes, I guess. Every semester, the class caps at 20. Frankly, I think over 20 would be a lot for me to handle because it's very discussion-based. I open up the class by saying, we're developing the social norms on this very subject right now. Laws are being written right now, cases are in court right now, so this is something that's happening now. So I want to hear what you have to say about it. So it'd be hard to have too many more than that, but I'd say every semester I've had between 15 and 20. They have been freshman through senior, undecided majors to bio majors, to finance majors, to communications majors, the whole span of the gamut. It's interesting, at the end of the class, well, I think the first class there's a little bit of like, what is this dude going to teach me about Facebook? I know everything. Maybe just a little. And then at the end of class, I've gotten a lot of comments from students like, I learned that I didn't know a lot of things I didn't know. Or one student said, you made me not scared of Facebook anymore, thanks. I said, okay. So we learn a lot of things together, and I think that's what makes it pretty powerful. So, yeah, sure. That was my last question, but you can certainly connect with me. If you have any individual or personal questions, I'll stick around for a little bit. I can give you my card, we can talk. I am on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, go for it. At Kevin C. Grubb, I'm really happy to keep talking about this stuff, and certainly the Career Counselor Technology Forum is another good place on LinkedIn, that group, where if you want to continue the discussion. More colleagues beyond me with a lot of other expertise in things, so have at it. And thank you again very much, I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. And that brings to a close today's program. I hope you all enjoyed it and got a lot of valuable information out of it. I want to thank all of our speakers, all of our presenters and panelists today. Did a wonderful job, and I know I certainly learned a whole bunch of things and got a lot of valuable information that I'll use in my programming and my programming of my events and so forth on campus. I want to remind you all, please fill out your evaluation and leave it at the registration desk. This is this bright orange color, so you can't lose it, can't miss it. And for those of you, I think a couple of people had asked me about the Chancellor's report, Jobs for New York's Future, how you can access it. I believe there is a website. I don't have the URL available. Excuse me? All right, that's cuny.edu/jobsreport. Okay. So once again, I thank you all for coming, and I wish you a pleasant day, the rest of the day, and thanks again.